Welcome to the podcast. We Do Recover with Jared Miller, your host.
And I'm Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host.
This is a podcast about recovery from addiction.
We want to talk about what successful recovery can look like.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center, Rise Up Subs, and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
Woo! Welcome, everybody. It is November, is today the 3rd? November 3rd.
It is. I'm pretty sure it's November 3rd.
Friday,
Yeah.
November 3rd, 2023. We are just on a crash course for 2024. We're going to get there really soon.
Speaking of that, have you started your Christmas shopping yet?
I have not, no.
I actually have. So
Really?
last weekend I got Sean Denovan's Christmas present.
Oh, my gosh. A lump of coal.
He's going to love it. I can't wait.
I'm sure.
I haven't got yours yet, but what do you
Okay.
buy a doctor who has everything he wants? You know what I mean?
Doctor doesn't have anything. Don't worry about
Buy
it.
you
The
some
doctor.
time off, maybe.
Buy me. There you go.
Yeah.
No, because I'm a very famous Christmas Eve shopper. Like
I know.
I'm amazing at it. All right.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. So today, this is episode 135. Welcome to episode 135. We have a special guest in studio, Bryce Conaster, and we're going to get into his story in just a minute. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about the folks that help us put this podcast on.
Yeah, this podcast would not be possible if it wasn't for our sponsors. We want to thank them so much. So for episode 135, part 1, it is brought to us by Steps Recovery Centers. Steps Recovery Centers is an adult substance abuse and mental health provider. Steps Recovery Centers provides all levels of care. They have a medical detox facility, multiple residential treatment centers, and outpatient services reaching from the top of Utah to the bottom. Recovery starts with you, and at Steps Recovery Centers, there is always hope. Call them today at 801-800-8142 or visit their website at stepsrc.com to learn more. We appreciate them sponsoring this podcast.
Always hope, says
There's
Steps.
always
Yep.
hope.
Thanks.
That's right. I don't know if you've heard of a company called Rise Up Supplements.
Heard of them?
They are also one of our sponsors.
Yep.
Rise Up Supplements is a nootropic line aimed at optimizing brain function and supporting mental health. That helps the brain, the noggin, the noodle, the old think tank. So they have 2 powerful blends to choose from. You have the Mindful Mood, which is like the break. It helps decrease anxiety and enhance mood. Then you got the Mind Shift, which is like the gas pedal. It helps increase focus and optimize brain function. Place your order today at riseupsubs.com. That's RISEUPS.com. At checkout, punch in all caps podcast 20 to save our listeners 20% off just because we freaking love you guys, dude.
You didn't say the big word.
What is the big word?
Nootropic.
No, he said nootropic.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, right.
I found out
Okay.
that's a triple word score on Scrabble when you use nootropic.
Is it?
Really?
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that since I can't spell.
I feel good today, man. I'm on the mind shift today.
did?
I did
Oh,
some
yeah.
mind shift. I took some mind shift today. I don't do it every day. Sometimes I do the mindful mood if I'm just like wanting to chill. Today I feel like I need to use the old noodle, so
Yeah.
I got the nootropics flowing in the blood.
Hell yeah.
We've abused our noodles for a long time, most of us that listen to this podcast, right?
My noodles usually run on like one brain cell, so I gotta optimize that brain cell to the best of my ability.
Yep. Keep that one thing pumping, right? That one cell's got to do a job.
Wait a minute, which noodle are we talking
All
about?
right. Hell yeah.
I meant the one cell. How did you even get there?
I don't know, man.
I mean,
I for sure was very innocently saying you were talking about one cell, and I said, "Yeah, you got to keep that one thing."
the noggin, the
pumping.
noodle, the old think tank.
You guys went.
You know.
You went in the ditch on that, not me.
This is not a Viagra product, Doc.
Okay.
It's
All right.
blood flow in the other direction. Golly.
All right, well, let's
Take
get
it
to.
Our sponsors are going to fire us.
No, they're not. Let's get to some new and goods. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
All right. So one of the things, Bryce, I don't know if you've heard the podcast much, but we always at the beginning do new and good. So something good in your life or something new in your life that is good. You got anything in your life that's new and good?
yeah. Actually, I got a lot of new and good things. All I
right.
have is new and good things, to be
Love
honest with
that.
you. Yeah, man. It's been so. I've been clean off of heroin for a year and 2 months now. Clean off of meth and all that other stuff for about, I think it's about 90 days now.
Okay.
And just for this 90-day period, right, ever since I decided to get sober completely on my own and just say, you know what, Bryce, it's time to stand up and do what you got to do. And I did it, and it's just ever since I did it by myself, it was like I had to go through all these lessons in life to realize that I couldn't do it for nobody but myself. And I was trying to do it for everybody but myself this whole time.
Sure.
So now this time it's different, and God has been with me every step of the way. He's been opening doors. I've been jumping over mountains that I didn't think I'd climb ever. So it's been a journey, man. I'm happy.
Sweet.
Sounds like some good gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jared, you got anything new and good in your life?
Yeah. Specifically this morning, I woke up this morning. I went to an AA meeting at the Alano Club, and the reading of the day hit me pretty hard. It was some step 11 stuff around prayer and meditation, and those are two things that I'm not great at, because the story I tell myself is I'm a super busy guy, and so I neglect prayer and meditation. So new and good for me today is I made a new commitment for the next 30 days. I'm going to pray and meditate every day. And I had a great Halloween, safe, sober, fun Halloween. I had a lot of people over that are in recovery, or friends, coworkers.
Sweet.
A lot of good stuff. We're going golfing tomorrow. We're doing a podcast today.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Man, a lot of good stuff.
That is good.
I feel like the new and goods too, like, man, it's just good to take an opportunity to like validate the things that you got going in your life. So our listeners, if you're listening to this, what is your new and good, man? What do you got going on around you?
No, it's a great exercise, right? Yeah, just reflect a little bit. As you know, as the people that have listened to the podcast know, I'm actually not great at this. Like I understand that my world is filled with some unbelievably great things, but when it comes down to like somebody puts me on the spot and says, "Well, what's new and good in your life?" I don't know. Geez, what? So,
do you think now? Listen, I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you here, but do you think that it's because like you're just a humble guy?
No, I think that humility is fake. First of all, I really do.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that on a future date.
Listen, humility is not my strong point. It is for sure my weak point, and it's one of the things I've learned something about myself in recovery is. Humility, until I got a little bit more humble, I wasn't going to get clean and sober. Right? So humility's tough for me, but it is something I work on. Probably more than anything else, I work on humility in my life. So, but if you hear me saying negative things about myself, the people that do your job will tell me not to say that. I know I don't mean it. Like when I say it, it's not. I don't really believe I'm a jerk or I'm a dumb idiot.
Can I tell you something about that?
Yeah.
So check this out. It's crazy that you bring that up because that self-talk, negative self-talk, right? So the reason I got sober, I've been clean this long now, was I was on my mom's back patio and I was gambling on my phone. Another horrible addiction that I stopped.
Sure.
And I lost. And the first thought that came to my head was suicidal. And I was like, it's 7 a.m.
Right.
Chill out.
That's it. Yeah. I don't have to kill myself. I don't have to kill myself before breakfast.
You know what I'm saying? Why don't you drink some coffee? Let's see how today goes. You know what I mean? Chill out. And then it dawned on me that I've been rude to myself for my whole life. And then it actually dawned on me in that very same moment that it's my fault that all these things that happened to me up to this point were all my fault because I was talking bad to myself, attracting the negativity that was coming to me.
Sure.
So as soon as that hit me, I cried for about 15 minutes. Went upstairs, grabbed the meth pipe, smashed it, took it downstairs, said, "Hey, Ma, I'm done." Dumped it.
Sweet.
Been on ever since.
I like that.
So realizing how much power words have, so like the words you don't say out loud are the strongest ones. And you can't talk to yourself negatively in any kind of way, even in a joke, because your inner child, your inner spirit, doesn't know how to decipher it or take it any other way but serious.
Yeah, no question.
So you're slowly jabbing at yourself, and it's causing damage.
Yeah.
So just love yourself, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna get a tattoo on my arm.
Says Dr. Sellers. You should, man.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Please do not do
I'll
that.
pay for it, bro.
I'm down.
I'm not even gonna get a tattoo on my arm that says Dr. Sellers.
So like I'm gonna get a tattoo on my arm that says "Be nice to Bryce."
Oh yeah.
Because
beautiful.
honestly, that's the fundamental, like, number one thing. That's like the cornerstone of my recovery. Like doing it on my own was just like being nice to myself, not calling myself all these horrible things, and truly believing in myself and loving myself unconditionally. Because I can't love anybody else or like push this agenda in a healthy manner if I don't truly like love myself enough to do so. Because that's just the way it's got to be, you know. So
Thanks, Bryce.
I know that it sounds. Never mind. I'm not even going to.
I think that I get what you're saying though, Doc. There has to be like a healthy balance, right? Because fake optimism is not healthy either. And fake, so I get it, right? Sometimes you have to be realistic.
I have a pretty healthy love for myself. This is why I struggle with humility, part of it, right? I got through med school looking around the classroom thinking, I'm smarter than everybody in here.
Right.
So when I say, I'm a dumb idiot, I know I don't mean that, but I get it. It's not a great habit. I wouldn't teach it to people. I can tell you that. Hey, Sean, over there in the corner. What's doing good in the world of Sean Denovan?
I'll find out tonight about 7 o'clock.
What do we got going?
Well, I've lived my life wanting a hot tub.
Oh yeah.
And so many years ago, I got one for like $200.
Okay.
And it lasted as long as a $200 hot tub.
You know what you get when you buy a $200 hot tub?
You give it away for free.
You get a $200 hot tub.
That's right. So we've done that a couple of times. Anyways, so over the summer, we actually spent a couple bucks and actually got like a real one. Like, yay. We got like a cement pad. Yay. We filled it.
Whoa.
Yay. It leaked.
Boo.
Yay. No.
So the guy who sold it to us has been in the process of trying to fix it, and he's bringing the motor over tonight, and hopefully the hot tub that we've had in our yard since August will actually be able to use for the first time. Finally.
Tonight?
Yeah. And this is one of those like, wow, are we spending this much money? Like, okay, let's give it a shot. So it better work. So if 7 o'clock comes and it's on and it's warm, it's new and good. If not, it's going to be cold
new and
and
bad.
Yeah, it's cold and wet.
Wait, but it's not.
What I heard is 8 o'clock.
We're there.
Hot tub party at Sean
hot tub
Denovan's
party at
house.
Bingo!
The address is
Drop the
246 South, Fairfield Way.
Heck yeah.
Zip code.
Park on the neighbor's lawn. They don't care.
I heard it's also a time machine, his hot tub. So
Yes.
let's go do it. Let's go do the hot tub time machine.
Oh, we have tall
Denovan's
fences,
yard.
so it's wink, wink.
So I don't have to wear any clothes, is what he said. I think that's what he said.
That is what he
I think that's
said.
what he said.
I don't have to wear any clothes. Sweet.
So that's my new and
That
almost
would,
good.
That would kill some people. All right. Let's roll. Bryce,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
So
Who are you? Where are you from? What's your life like today for a second?
okay, I'll give you a little me in a nutshell.
Okay.
I was born October 18th, 1989.
Okay.
I was born 1 pound 3 ounces. I was
Oh,
a premature
man.
baby.
Ooh, that is tiny.
Yeah. I have struggled with addiction and had my whole family struggled with addiction. It's kind of plagued our family. So for me to go through my childhood the way it wasn't the best, but I mean, it built a lot of character. I went through a lot of things, but it was necessary to get to where I am. So for me to always just have adapted to music and start this organization, honestly, it's all up to this. It's all God, really. Because I've walked this whole journey. Like, I'm blessed to be here, for one, just from my birth. But then the several overdoses that I've survived, I'm just really grateful to be here. So I wake up every day grateful just to be up and alive. Like, I wake up early on purpose because I'm trying to get the most out of every day because, like, I am really thankful to be here. So, like...
You talked about the organization that you're doing.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say the name.
Rapture Recovery. It's a music-based therapy program. I've always made music my whole life. Like when I was like 4 years old, I was on the news for imitating Garth Brooks. That was the only way my mom could get me to do my inhaler and my breathing treatments. She would build a shrine in the living room and say, she'd get on the phone like she's talking to Garth Brooks and say, hey, he says, sit down and do the, he says, sit down and do that treatment.
Smart mama.
So,
Wow.
she got
So
me
you
to-
learned manipulation at an early age.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's funny.
Absolutely.
That's what you do with the young kids, right? It's
Yeah.
all about manipulation.
You know, so it's a beautiful thing, man. So I've always loved music, and then I end up experiencing a bunch of stuff, and going through life and heartbreaks and just coping the wrong way, and then getting introduced to drugs at such a young age, and looking as old as I did. So like I was like 16, 17 going to Wendover and gambling because I had like a beard, no hair, looking old as shit. Nobody even say nothing. You know what I mean? So like I kind of grew up fast. But I learned a lot, and I went through a lot of.
I don't know about old as shit. Maybe just scruffy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, for being
You looked older than your age.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
And so it's been a great journey, and I was lucky enough to go through this whole drug addiction thing, right? And I call it lucky too because it really taught me a lot about who I am and who I wanted to be. And I didn't realize who I wanted to be until I became who I never thought I'd be, and that was a really humbling moment. So to be able to make music, start this organization, and kind of use music to help me, because music's always helped me cope. I've always wrote about my problems and released it, and it's kind of helped me like close chapters in my life, if you will.
Yeah.
So like I want to give that same outlet to other people
Sure. That's cool.
because it really helps a lot. Like I don't think nobody really takes into consideration, I don't think, about like how much. So like when you record something personal about your life, right, that you're trying to let go, and you put it out there on display, and then you hear it back, and you listen to it in like third person, if you will, you're able to reflect on it from a different perception.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it really, 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 really helps a lot. And it came up, and it helped me come up with this little saying I always say.
Can I pause you for 1 second?
Yeah.
So therapeutically, there's a process that I really like my clients to do. It's called daily reflective journaling, and it's the same concept, right? You go through the files in your mind. You think about the last 24, 48 hours, the situations, the circumstances. Did you show up as the best version of yourself? And if the answer to that is yes, then great, keep doing it. If the answer to that is no, do you need to make an amends for that? Do you need to correct next time? What do you need to do to show up to be the better version of yourself the next time, right? And there's something about, and I share all that to get to this. It's very similar to writing music. There's a little bit of a bullshit filter, if you will, between your brain and your hand.
Mm-hmm. Sean's busy over there.
I know. This is, yeah.
Sean's got some post-editing to do.
There's a filter. You know, your thoughts, you can lie to yourself in your head real easy. When you're forced to write something and actually have to take the energy to put it down, somehow it comes out a little bit more authentic, and then you're able to, you're thinking it, you're writing it, you're reading it, right? Like there's just a whole internal process that happens there. It's a beautiful thing. And I think it's the same thing when people say writing music is therapy to me. Well, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. You're writing down it's internal thought, right? It's internal dialogue, and then you're recording it with a rhythm. Mm-hmm. So how could it not be? Like, it totally makes sense.
Like it's the way I look at like writing stuff down, period, about whether it's a goal, idea, or anything. Because like where Rap to Recovery came from was I was sitting in jail, and I would write these things called daily reflections at the end of my day to kind of check myself, like how did I go about the day? What were my thoughts about? How did I overcome them? You know.
So you literally did kind of one of my core assignments. Yeah. That's cool.
So I would write these things, daily reflections every day, which with me being who I am, at the end of it would always turn into a rap. You know what I'm saying? Like there would be a part of rap or a bar or two in there, right? So I wrote Rap to Recovery, and it started with me writing Rap to Recovery, getting this feeling from God, like, yo, that's something. So I put it from my brain into the physical world on a piece of paper, and then turned it into a nonprofit organization that I know for a fact, if I just keep on pushing, we're going to be able to help a lot of people.
There you go. Yeah.
Which brings me to my next question. When did you start Rap to Recovery, and how many years have you been going? Do you have a 501c3 nonprofit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started in 2019. I took a loan out to pay for the attorney to make it completely legit, a national nonprofit. So it's a completely federal recognized entity. And I've just been slowly pushing. It hasn't been an easy road. I mean, I've tripped, I fell. I've fell all the way down again after thinking I was in a position that I was like, no, I think I've won. But then that's when I realized you can't get comfortable when in recovery. Like I really like when I was in drug court and I started Rap to Recovery and I was just kicking butt, right? Kicking butt, you know? And I just felt like so invincible that I felt like I got so far away from it that I was cool. But I got comfortable. The first time I went through like something major, I coped the wrong way because I was comfortable. So it's just lessons, you know.
Well, I think isn't that recovery, right?
Absolutely.
That's that whole thing is recovery right there. Mm-hmm. We are going to fall down in our lives.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're never going to grow. Mm-hmm. Right? If the road you walk down is the easy, simple road and you're never tested or tempted or have to overcome obstacles or anything like that, that person doesn't grow very much.
No.
You grow from getting up.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that you grow from walking it backwards and learning from it. Mm-hmm. Because, right, you think about the definition of insanity, Doc, right? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And so like when people go out and they lapse and, you know, they while they're in treatment, they use and they come back. I don't demonize the use. It's like, let's take a look at it and let's figure out what went wrong and what can we do next time. Let's learn from it, right? Mm-hmm. Because the inability to learn from it and grow just turns into insanity.
Mm-hmm. I think we do the same thing. Like, very similar. When somebody relapses, the first thing I want to know is, what'd you learn? Like, did you learn anything? And can you learn something out of that? Because if you do, then the relapse doesn't have to be a complete and total waste. Now you've learned something more about your life. You have a little bit more feedback on how you react to things. But if you take that feedback and then grow from it, okay, then it wasn't a complete waste. Mm-hmm. If all you do is relapse and don't learn anything, well, that was a waste of time.
Like honestly, it's crazy to like. I feel like us as addicts, us as humans, really, we're all so like we're self-centered in a way when it comes to like thinking that this like life is all about us.
For sure,
right? Because like when I passed away, one of the times, they put me on life support and all that kind of stuff. They were like telling my mom, "You got to get out of here. He's not gonna make it." And what the only thing I could remember from that little brief moment was like I looked at everything. It was like dark, and I was like a giant, and I looked at everything that I loved, and it was my family and all these memories and all this stuff, right? And I was stepping over it like a giant into this darkness, and it was like peaceful. Mm. And the only thing that hit me before I woke up was I felt really silly because I was like, wait a minute, that wasn't even all about me. It was all, there's like a bigger reason for all of our lessons. All the stuff we go through, all of our fails, all of our trials, our tribulations, the stuff that we win, the stuff that we lose, everything. It's all for a collective conscience, a bigger thing. Yeah, you know, so if we all just do our best, because it's a test. Every day is a test. It's all, especially nowadays, if it's not becoming like more apparent that this is a spiritual test, full out, especially nowadays, we all got to be more mindful of it. And like you wouldn't take that like then when you slip and fall down, when you relapse and stuff like that, you wouldn't take it so personal because you know it's a lesson.
Sure, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Bryce is a deep thinker, man.
Yeah, well, he's done some thinking. That's no question about that.
Yeah.
Which is great because many of us trudge through life and don't really reflect very much, right?
And I think
I have times in my life where I am guilty of that. Like you just get up and you just do the day, then you go to bed, and you wake up and you do the next day, and you go to bed. If you reflect on it, you're going to actually continue to grow and learn things. And if you just get it done and just, okay, that's kind of when we're lazy.
Yeah.
Which
I would agree that a lot of people are, you know, but I think that we're genetically wired to worry about ourselves.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's survival. It's
for sure.
It's your genetics trying to keep you alive. And so some of that stuff's so ingrained.
But that is such a, but that to me is such a snake brain sort of activity, whereas higher functioning and thinking, we actually start to incorporate thinking about other people and how our actions affect the world rather than just thinking about our actions and how we can get more of what we.
That's what Bryce is talking about for sure.
Beautiful.
Can I?
We got a minute.
Yeah, we got a minute left. Bryce, I know that you do the Rap to Recovery thing. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on is you're very publicly not. How am I trying to say this? You're not shy about letting people know that you do medical marijuana.
Yeah.
You'll be the first person on this podcast to ever talk about, from a person-centered place, medical marijuana. So I'm hoping to get some of that topic in the second half of this and have Doc help me out with it, right? Okay. But I think I appreciate you know, you coming on here, and in the second piece, I'd really love to dive into that, because I think that there are some conversations that need to be had, some awareness that needs to be spread, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, so I've always used marijuana, right?
We've only got about 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
get
In
that
fact,
in the second
We'll
part of.
We'll come back.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with Bryce Conaster.
Right, Brack?
Did I say right back?
You are listening to We Do Recover with Jared Miller and co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. We'll be right back after this short break with more of We Do Recover with Jared Miller. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center, Rise Up Subs in the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
If you or your loved one is trapped in the cycle of addiction, there is a way out.
At Steps Recovery Center in Utah, we believe in second chances and new beginnings. Our evidence-based treatments, compassionate staff, and supportive community guide you on the path to recovery.
It is time to reclaim your life. Take the first step towards freedom, resilience, and a brighter tomorrow. Reach out to Steps Recovery Centers today.
Recovery starts with you, and at Steps, there is always hope. Call us or visit our website to learn more.
We welcome you back to We Do Recover with Jared Miller, co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center, Rise Up Subs in the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. And now with part 2 of our podcast, Jared Miller and Dr. Terry Sellers.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to make this second segment happen here momentarily. But first, we'd like a quick word about our friends over at the Hilton Garden Inn. Did you know it's always sunny and bright at the Hilton Garden Inn?
Love those guys.
Unfortunately, they are sold out this weekend, so I couldn't stay there. I wanted to, but they were sold out, and so
It's a good problem to have.
well, that's a great problem to have as a business, right?
Bad for us.
Yeah.
But good for them.
So, but if you happen to be traveling through southern Utah, give them a Google search. Type in Hilton Garden Inn. I'll tell you some of the great things about the Hilton Garden Inn. I would go staff first. The staff is amazing. They've been always very kind and very helpful to me. Anything I've ever done that, like I forgot toothpaste. Oh, we'll get you some toothpaste. Oh, we got toothbrushes. Oh, we got spoons. They're very helpful and kind. Amenities are great. Rooms are huge, clean, bright. Hot tubs, amazing. Might be better than Sean's hot tub, but I'm not sure yet. We'll see come 7 o'clock.
We'll know at 7 o'clock tonight.
Right.
Yes, sir.
No floaties in the hot tub over there.
Well, there you go. Anyway, give Hilton Garden Inn a chance at your business, and I don't think you'll regret it. All right, let's go back. We're on episode 135. This is the second part of our show, and we are talking to Bryce Conaster, who has been telling us a little bit about his story and some of the things that have happened to him. But before we went to the break, Jared wanted to get into a topic. Why don't you lead us off again, Jared?
So we've talked about medical marijuana, and Doc, you've shared that your big stance against it is it wasn't approved like a traditional medicine.
That's a stance.
And right, like it's dispensed not from a pharmacy.
Right.
So there's kind of some of those things that people have opinions on. Out of Berkeley, there was a study that said for medical marijuana to be effective, people need to be taking a therapeutic dose. What that means to me is it needs to be in a measurable amount. And they talked about on a urine screening that it would be around 500 nanograms or whatever the mathematical equation is. That
I think it's nanograms per milliliter for marijuana. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So 500 nanograms per milliliter. And I've shared with Bryce, we kind of talked, of course, before we came on here about one of my things working. I work at Steps now, and they have a very black and white policy on that. But I've worked at other treatment providers before where they've said if you have a medical marijuana card, you can still attend services. And to me, there's a difference between a client who's taking a therapeutic dose, it's measured and regulated, and then somebody who's just coming in and their levels are like 10,000. And they can't function in group, and they can't have a cognitive conversation like we're having now. And it's like, that's not therapeutic, my man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Bryce, what does that look like from a person in recovery stance off of, you shared methamphetamines and opiates. Like, why did you take this path, and what's been your experience so far?
Like, So this path, like, it wasn't really anything. It wasn't really. So I've always partook in marijuana since I was like 16, to be honest with you. And I've always partaken in marijuana through my addiction and through my sobriety and everything, right? Besides when I was on drug court. And the difference that I've noticed with like how it's affected me in my recovery is not only like there's ways to use the plant, right? And there's ways to abuse the plant. And it's all about balance.
I think that's fair with pretty much every chemical.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like it really, you could, like, it's all about moderation. And if you're just going to sit here and
hold on, let me back you up.
Okay.
So you have done the in and out of recovery thing before you've relapsed.
Yeah.
Typically it's been on the harder drugs, the methamphetamines, the opiates, things like that.
Yeah.
So you shared it's been, give me your clean time again.
I'm clean off of heroin for about a year and 2 months now, and off of meth for 90.
At what point in that process did you start doing medical marijuana since those clean dates from those chemicals?
Oh, okay. So since the 90 days, I'd say about 70 days. I'd say 70 days in. I've been at this men's tribal house for about 70 days now.
Okay, so for the past 70 days, you've been doing that.
Yeah, I've been doing this men's tribal house. It's a men's sober living, which they do exercise, the medical marijuana and the ketamine treatments and things like that.
Okay.
It's a different, what I've noticed, just from me personally, since I've been there, what I've witnessed is like a brotherhood of these people that you wouldn't, so you got a lot of people getting straight out of the prison. And, you know, there's codes and ways you got to live in prison. And
it's called antisocial personality disorder.
You know? So you
very familiar, or criminal thought.
You get all these people out that are on this mentality where it's like holding them accountable for something is you being a snitch.
Right.
But that's, you know what I mean? So look, we got to clear the air here. Look, that's a thinking error.
Right.
We're here to hold each other accountable because we care about you and we want to see you grow. So we're gonna hold you accountable.
Yeah,
you're gonna swallow it.
I'm sure you've worked with some prison populations also. I do. Yeah. Currently, I work with and one of my jobs a prison population, and that's a tough concept. You're exactly right.
It is.
I can't hold you accountable because that makes me a snitch.
You know what I mean? That's the mentality we must break.
That is an addiction mentality. Mm-hmm. And a prison mentality, but it's a inactive disease mentality, not really just so recovery mentality is way different than that.
Mm-hmm. I would say it's a huge indicator for me on how well a client's doing. Some of the clients that don't fare very well they have the inability to take accountability, right? Like they cannot be honest with themselves, and so they're not going to be honest with me. They're not going to be honest with their PO. They're not going to be honest with their wife. They're not going to be honest with their fill in the blank because they can't be honest with themselves. Right.
Well, and we can't grow and improve if we can't receive feedback on what we're doing right now, right? If I know for a fact you're out there using, and I'm sitting in a group with you, and I keep that a secret, man, I have just signed off on your potential death.
Yep.
Right.
Not only that, but then you got to carry that around. That's kind of heavy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So guilty by association, really.
So it sounds like they're doing a good job. They're doing this medical marijuana piece and the ketamine piece and these alternative methods that is very new to us. And this is hot topic stuff. And a lot of people don't like having these conversations. And I encourage the conversations because I think education, information is the answer to a lot of things. And so I appreciate you being willing to talk about this. But it sounds like also at the Sober Living House, they're doing some therapeutic stuff. They're holding each other accountable.
Yeah, they're holding each other accountable, and they have a moving company. They have a demo company. So we get these guys right out. We got them jobs, and then they don't get a phone or any money until like 60 to 90 days.
Whoa,
right?
That's pretty heavy,
and it stacks up. So they have everything's taken care of. Your housing and everything.
Talk to me about why is that important?
Because a lot of people. Well, the majority of addicts, when we get out, we get money in our hands. You know what I'm saying?
It's a bad
straight
deal.
to the dope mentality. Right. You know what I mean? And it's just counterproductive, really. And if you really cared about somebody in recovery, you got to understand what it's like to be in that situation, because I've been there. It sucks. Like you almost don't want money.
They have to earn that trust.
Yes. Okay. So it's a real cool thing. The way it's set up, it's awesome. I'm excited just to be a part of it because there's so much opportunity. There's so much different kind of growth. There's a lot of different people that are like, I mean, I've met people that have literally like started crying. Like, yo, I've been looking for this my whole life. Like, what do you mean? I've been to all the different rehabs and all different kinds of stuff, you know? And it's a blessing that I come across this because a lot of people are dying right now. Everybody knows that. This fentanyl thing's crazy. Like, I lost 3 friends in a week 2 months ago.
Yeah, I won't argue with that.
You know what I mean? So, like, the annual redemption idea of us, like, congratulating each other annually is a brilliant idea. Yeah. And I think we owe it to everybody that's trying to do that for each other.
Sure.
So that's a concept you talked to me about. We'll get to that. Let's talk about, though, so in your opinion, the medical marijuana thing makes more sense than what I'm hearing is than having somebody go back to opiates or using heroin, fentanyl, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dive into this for healthy debate.
Okay.
There's an argument out there to be said that somebody who's using any mind-altering substances, it will lead back to their drug of choice. So how would you defend that? If I came on here and I said, okay, Bryce, my opinion is if somebody's using cannabis, they're more likely to return back to whatever their drug of choice is in the first place. What would you say to that?
I would tell you that your perception is a weapon. Use it wisely.
Okay.
Because we are what we think about ourselves, and we can literally do anything that we put our mind to. So if you're going to cap yourself on your growth and stunt it like that, it's up to you. You can either do something or you can't. That's the bottom line. It's all on whether you say you can or you can't. I try to tell everybody I know, don't say the can't word around me. It's a bad word to me. I don't want to hear you say you can't do something because you can literally do anything you put your mind to. Like, did you know they did a study just recently that I just seen it, right? They had this guy sit there and focus on his arms, right? Act like he was working out, just thinking about it with his mind. Like 2 to 3 weeks later, his arms grew 15% muscle mass.
But do you think that the likelihood of them returning to some of these quote unquote heavier substances, like the methamphetamines, like the fentanyl, do you think they're more likely or less likely if they have a substance abuse history and they're using cannabis or medical marijuana?
I mean, honestly, I can only speak from my point of view because I'm one of them.
I like that.
For me,
okay, let's start there.
For me, it's saving my life. It's keeping a needle out of my arm. It's keeping. I haven't even thought about heroin or getting high on meth. Like it turned it off completely. And honestly, I forget I even had a drug problem half the time. I'm like, wow, I can't even remember I used to do that shit. I'm like, Dad, I can't believe it. You know, it's crazy. But like, it's a blessing because, like, I got ADHD. My mind's always racing 1,000 miles an hour, and I need something to sometimes distract it. I don't want to take like Adderall because that stuff like gets me higher than anything I've ever taken, I think. And then the other derivatives turn me into like a zombie, and it's weird. It makes me feel unnatural. It makes me feel like I'm on drugs. I need to be going 1,000 miles an hour all the time to feel normal because that's who I am. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
So what I hear you say is that's not true for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Doug.
What? So this is a policy of the place where you're currently living, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to name the place or not really?
Yeah, it's Men's Tribal. Men's Tribal House.
Okay. Where is it located?
There's a facility in Midvale and Woods Cross, and I can't remember the other two, but they are located.
There's 4 facilities, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're living in Midvale?
Woods Cross.
Woods Cross. Okay, you're living in the one in Woods Cross. How many people are at your particular location?
There's 4 right now.
It's a small place.
Yeah.
Or is it not very full?
There's the upstairs and downstairs, but there's only 4 in there. We can fit 6 total.
Okay,
but
so it's kind of a small, it's not a giant house or anything.
No.
It's a small house, cozy little house. You're all living together.
Mm-hmm.
How many have medical marijuana cards? All 4?
All of them.
Is that kind of the thing that, would you say that's the same every one of the locations?
Yes.
That everyone's got a card?
Yeah, it's mandatory when you get involved in it. So it's mandatory you get your card because we definitely follow. We got to follow all the books.
So they're treating it like a mat. It sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sure.
So it's like we're definitely we're following all the rules and the regulations in order to make this something that could potentially like really help the other side of the world. That, like, I mean, I'm not saying it's for everybody.
Right.
But there's like, you know what I'm saying?
question.
I'm just trying to like have all the options available.
Right.
Well, and I hope you don't feel attacked. I want to have this conversation and
no.
bring up, because I know people's perspectives. I sit in debates and hear this stuff working in this field all the time. And so I just want to, I have the opportunity to sit down with somebody who's living it. Let's have the conversation. Let's get your perspective. Let's get your opinions on it. And so I appreciate that. And I love that you started off with, well, for me, right? And I think that that's a very important thing to just pause and.
No question. It's not for everybody. Yeah. But there isn't. This is the thing that we learn as we get further and further along in recovery is there is not one way to do this.
No.
If there was only one way, then nobody should be offering marijuana. Nobody should be doing ketamine. Nobody should be. You just do the one way. There's hundreds, thousands of ways people get to recovery. The concept of what we want to get to is to improve the quality of our lives.
Yes.
And if what you're doing is improving the quality of your life, you've gotten there.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's a goal. That's a goal we're all trying to reach when we enter into recovery.
Yes.
Is if recovery was just, I'm not using drugs, but my life still sucks and everything's terrible, I might as well use drugs. Right? But what we get out of not using is our lives improve.
And I also think too, if we look at the definition of addiction, it's continued use despite negative consequences.
Right.
And if an individual, for whatever reason, can come up with a measurable amount, it's prescribed by a doctor, it's overseen by, it sounds like, this organization that's trying this and trying to do this, if the negative consequences of their life go away because they're not, in other words, if we can take away the negative consequences, I mean, if people aren't getting arrested, if people aren't doing the stuff that goes hand in hand with the substance abuse.
Well, that's where it's different to me for sure, is it's now legal. It's not, and one of my objections is how it became legal, but that's not really an issue anymore because it is legal. I don't care about that anymore, but it's now legal. So it's different than if people were out smoking pot and committing a felony when they were doing it.
Yeah.
Right. That's a way different situation to me.
You're living with sounds like people that have histories of doing that.
Yeah.
And from your perspective, the last 70 days, you're seeing a shift, a change in them.
Like, honestly, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I've been to jail and I got friends and I've been in other sober livings and things like that. What's really cool is like, if it's working like this on the outside, if we can get these people that are in the prison medication, right? We can start stopping.
Again, my brain always first, I got to be honest, man. Okay. My brain always first jumps to, that's a terrible idea. And then it does, man. I just got to be honest. And then I have to pause and go, would it?
Yeah, well.
And I think that's why these conversations are important, because it's been status quo for so long.
Yeah.
I will say this about my view on that. There's not there's not very much data in the literature that says it's a good idea. But there's not very much data in the literature with people that are doing that either, right? It's just not been well studied. If this turns out to be a really terrible idea, these guys will figure it out.
Yeah. Well, it checks out. This is how I look at it from the outside perspective, right?
Okay.
So this is the system that we've been given, right? And they've told us not to do all these things.
Right.
From the get-go. This is what you need to do. This is what it is, right? And they told us not to do all these things. They wouldn't benefit financially if we actually recovered.
Well, there's an interesting point.
I'm talking on the outside, the higher ups, the whole thing, right? The way it's ran. I feel like, it's all money to them. And that's what breaks my heart about this whole world. Like, we all need to learn to love each other more. Like, this whole money thing being the only form of currency, I want to start doing things where it's you can donate a shirt, a can of food, whatever, to get into an event. Let's not have money be the only currency, because I'm sick of seeing people die over a piece of paper. I can't. Come on, are you kidding me?
The only argument I would have to that is statistically, the people that pay for substance abuse treatment is Medicaid or Medicare, which is a state-run through taxes. So I don't know that there's an entity necessarily that's right. A lot of it is the Medicaid, which is a public paid the taxpayers.
I'll clap back on that.
On what I said?
Yeah.
Okay, go
How
ahead.
many
You
treatment
don't
centers
think,
you know take Medicaid? Not very many.
okay, valid point.
Not very
Can
many.
we get a scorecard in here, Sean? I feel like we need a scorecard because we're all trying to score some points here.
No, it's okay.
But no, yeah.
I agree that Medicaid pays a lot of money towards treatment, but there's also a ton of treatment centers. I don't think 20% of treatment centers in Utah take Medicaid. I think it's 80% that don't.
But you know all the state-ran facilities that a lot of people get court
That's a
ordered
good
to
point,
are
though.
Medicaid
No,
facilities.
that's
Like
an
the one I
excellent
went
point.
through was a Medicaid facility. And it's because I didn't have the money to pay premiums and nobody was paying for
Right.
my private
And
stay.
that's a real point. You know, my daughter passed away fairly recently, and we were trying to get her into treatment right before she passed away. And she had Medicaid. It wasn't super easy to find a place, I'll tell you that. A place, well, she also had worked in the industry, so she was a little picky too.
Picky choosy.
So that didn't help. But there's not a ton of places out there taking Medicaid for sure.
The thing I like about this
We're
is,
off topic though a little
is
bit.
we're having
Let's bring it back.
Yeah, we're having the conversations. And listen, we're not hurting anybody by having the conversation. If you feel very passionate one way or the other, I would ask you to take a look at that and maybe ask yourself, am I being
Is this real?
closed-minded?
Right.
Because one of the things we ask people to do in recovery is be open-minded.
Right.
Some of this stuff might sound crazy to you, we tell people at first, but if you take suggestions and follow what's essentially worked since the 1930s when Bill and Bob started this thing. So let's stay open-minded to this. The other thing too is just that point. A lot of this stuff was based on 1930 something.
No question.
Like we've had this topic too, Doc. Like we might need to be looking at some different alternative options, which again, that doesn't mean I'm just looking at both perspectives. I like to sit in the gray areas on the conversation.
Well, I can say this as far as I go, I was definitely against ketamine. And I've done a full 180 on that.
Yeah.
Because I've seen ketamine do some absolute miracles in people's lives. And miracles I don't think is an exaggeration. Like I've seen it really do some amazing things. And so yeah, a lot of these things that we first like have this knee-jerk reaction to that says, no, don't do that, don't do that. Well, why? Because you think it's wrong?
No,
Right.
we've been told one narrative for so long,
Which isn't working very well, by the way.
It's just like let's just try something else. I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm saying let's have other options on the table.
So Bryce, with that being said, we're going to have to follow up in like a year from now and see if you've gone off the deep end or not.
Of course,
right? So like you're kind of like our test subject for the podcast.
That's lit. I'm down.
I don't know. That's a lot of pressure, man.
It's
But you're
okay.
kind of carrying this like medical marijuana recovery flag now.
Yeah,
and Let's see what you do, bro.
I'm fine with that.
Now, I would tell you this. Utah's not a big place for what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
California,
Oh, that's an everyday thing.
tons of treatment centers.
So
allow
check it
it.
out, check it out. Like what we're doing is spreading love. Mm-hmm. Right? Marijuana, the whole marijuana and all that other stuff is just a side effect thing. Like what we're really trying to get at is like genuinely caring about each other. Like we're all connected, whether we want to like believe it or not, and like whether people want to actually like wake up and like realize it. But like at the end of the day, we are all on a spiritual journey. This is all a test, and we have been divided in so many different ways.
Oh, no question.
You know what I mean? So it's like I'm not the brightest bulb in the box, but I'm definitely here, and I know enough to like know that we're kind of failing together as a whole. We need to like you know what I mean? He's looking down. He's like, if I gotta come back down there, you know what I mean? So I
Some
gotta
people
come
saying he's going to come back
he's-
down here, but
I think he's on the way.
For sure.
One of the things-
he's on the plane right now.
one of the things I love about Bryce is a feeler, man.
Yeah.
He's a deep cat. He's this isn't an official diagnosis, but he's an empath. Like I just love that he's a feeler and he loves people. He cares about people. You can tell in his music that he is a deep person. With that being said, I know you wanted to talk about this thing that you're trying to get up off the ground. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, we only got a couple of minutes left, so let's get on that.
Okay, so check this out, you guys. It's called the Annual Redemption Ceremony.
This is something you're building.
Yes.
You're trying to create. It's in infancy.
This is going to be an event that is going to be it needs to be adopted by more than just one person.
So give us the vision.
So like the vision would be all of us as a community in every sector of the world, right, have these annual redemption Grammy themed nights, right, where we go around and we congratulate people on their spiritual growth because there's a lot of people in recovery doing some really cool stuff, and they're just doing what they're supposed to be doing, so they're not getting validated, I feel like. And that's we need to fix that. We can all come together and congratulate people and recognize them, give them their roses while they're still alive, because, I mean, this fentanyl is killing everybody. And I'm just trying to come up with as many ideas as I can to help us along the way.
Interesting thing. I'm going to really quick because we're close to out of time, but I don't want to take the rest of your time. But Hollywood and the music industry does this really well. Like the Grammys and the Academy Awards, they come together and it's basically they're patting each other on the back, right? And we don't get that.
Yeah,
we don't get that in real life. Hollywood does it every year.
Exactly.
It's cool.
I like it, man.
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah,
I like it. I think it's a good idea. You know, my brain, being logical, always goes to, you know, we would need to get some people behind it. We'd need some funding behind it. We would need some, right? And so that's the legwork. That's the stuff that we got to get.
Okay, we got 50 seconds
because I'm
left.
down. I'm down for whatever. So you let me know. I'm down. I'll
Hit
put in
us
the footwork or whatever.
Hit us with. Is there anything you want to leave for the people listening? Did you get across what you wanted to get across?
You know, love yourself to find yourself, and fate will find its way.
Beautiful.
Tomorrow's never promised, so cherish every day.
What a great
mic drop.
That's
It's
it.
almost like he makes music, man. He's a lyrical. He's dropping lyrics.
Right? That's lovely.
Here's what I want to get across today.
Okay.
There's a therapeutic dose, right? Use the therapeutic dose.
Yes.
Okay. And I want to get across that I love everybody here, and thanks for coming down. Bryce Conaster, everybody, thanks for joining us on our podcast. We will be back next week with episode number 136.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on We Do Recover with Jared Miller.
Help us spread our message of hope. Like, comment, and share.
If you have any topics or ideas for future shows, please share that on our Facebook page.
That Facebook page is We Do Recover with Jared Miller. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to us. Again, thank you for listening.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center, Rise Up Sups, and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast do not reflect those of its sponsors. This has been a production from a podcast studio.